Hello, Mark. My name is Joy. My student number is SR441015, and I'm a freshman in NCUE, and I'm going to deliver the speech titled What Makes a World Real by any Curzan. I need to start by telling you a little bit about my social life, which I know may not seem relevant, but it is. When people meet me and party and they find out that I'm an English professor who specializes in language, they generally have one of two reactions. One set of people look frightened. They often say something like, "Oh, I had better be careful what I say. I'm sure you will hear every mistake I made," and then they start talking. And they wait for me to go away and talk to someone else. The other set of people, their eye light up, and they say, "You are just the person I want to talk to," and then they tell me about whatever it is they think is going wrong with the English language. A couple of weeks ago, I was at a dinner party and the man to my right started telling me about all the ways that the internet is degrading the English language. He brought up Facebook and he said, "To defend, is that even a real word?" I want to pose on that question. What makes a word real? My dinner companion and I both know what the word different means. So when does a new word like different become real? Who has the authority to make those kind of official decisions about words? Anyway, those are the questions I want to talk about today. I think most people, when they say a word isn't real, what they mean is it doesn't appear in a standard dictionary. That, of course, raises a whole of other questions, including who writes dictionaries. Before I go any further, let me clarify my role in all of this. I do not write dictionary. I do, however, collect new rules much the way dictionary editors do. And the great thing about being a historian of the English language is that I get to call this research. When I teach the history of the English language, I require that students teach me 2 new slang words before I will begin class. Over the year, I have learned some great new slang this way, including hangry, which is when you are cranky or angry because you are hungry, and adorable, which is when you are adorable in kind of a dorky way. Clearly, three words that feel important get in the English language. But how real are they if we use them primarily as slang and they don't yet appear in a dictionary? With that, let's turn to dictionary. I'm going to do this as a show of hands. How many of you still regularly refer to a dictionary, either print or online? Okay, so that look like most of you. Now, a second question. Again, a show of hands. How many of you have ever looked to see who added the dictionary you are using? Okay, many fewer at some level. We know that there are human hands behind dictionary, but we are really not sure who those hands belong to. I'm actually fascinated by this. Even the most critical people out there tend not to be very critical about dictionary, not distinguishing among them and not asking a whole lot of questions about who added them. Just think about the phrase, "look it up in the dictionary," which suggests that all dictionaries are exactly the same. Consider the library here on campus, where you go into the reading room, and there is a large unabridged dictionary up on a pedestal in this place of honor and respect lying open so we can go stand before it to get answer. Now, don't get me wrong, dictionaries are fantastic resources, but they are human and they are not timeless. I strive as a teacher that we tell students to critically question every text they read, every website they visit. It's a dictionary, which we tend to treat as an adult, as if they came from nowhere to get an answer about what words really mean. Here's the thing. If you ask dictionary editor, what they will tell you is that just trying to keep up with us as we change the language. They are watching what we say and what we write and trying to figure out what's going to stick and what's not going to stick. They have to gamble because they want to appear cutting edge and catch the word they are going to make it, such as LOL, but they don't want to appear faddish and include the word that aren't going to make it. And I think a word that they are watching right now is YOLO. You only live once. Now I get to hang out with dictionary editor. As you might be surprised by one of the places where we hang out. Every January, we go to the American Daily Society annual meeting, where among other things, we vote on the word of the year. There are about 200 or 300 people who come, some of the best-known linguists in the United States, to give you a sense of the flavor of the meeting. It occurs right before happy hour. Anyone who comes can vote. The most important rule is that you can vote with only one hand. In the past, some of the winners have been tweeted in 2009 and hashtag in 2012. Church was the rule of the year in the year of 2000, because who knew what a church was before 2000, and WMD is 2002. Now we have other category in which we vote to, and my favorite category is most creative word of the year. Past winners in this category have included Recombobulation Area, which is in the Milwaukee Airport after security, where you can recombobulate. You can put your bed on, put your computer back in your bed, and that's my all-time favorite word in this book, which is multi-slacking. And multi-slacking is the act of having multiple windows up on your screen, so it looks like you are working when you are actually goofing around the web. With all of these rules stated, absolutely not, and we have made some questionable choices. For example, in 2006, when the word of the year was Pluto to mean demoted, but some of the past winners now seem completely unremarkable, such as apt and add as a prefix and Google as a verb. Now a few weeks before our vote, Les Superior State University issued its list of banished words for the year. What is striking about it is that there is actually often quite a lot of overlap between their list and the list that we are considering for Word of the Year. And it is because we are noticing the same thing. We are noticing words that are coming to prominence. It's really a question of attitude. Are you bothered by language fad and language change? Or do you find it fun, interesting, something worth of study as a part of a living language? The list by Les Superior State University continues a fairly long tradition in English of complaint about new rules. So here is Dean Henry Orford in 1875, who was very concerned that disability is really a terrible word. In 1760, Benjamin Franklin wrote a letter to David Hume giving a the Caroline as bad. Over the years, we have also seen worries about new pronunciation. Here is Sumo Roger in 1855, who is concerned about some fashionable pronunciation that he finds offensive. And he said, as if contemplate were not bad enough, beckoning makes me sick. The word is borrowed from Italian and it was pronounced beckoning. This complaint now strikes us as quaint, if not downright adorable. But here's the thing, we still get quite worked up about language change. I had an entire thread in my office of newspaper article, which expressed concern about illegitimate words that should not have been included in the dictionary, including LOL when it got into the Oxford English Dictionary and different when it got into the Oxford American Dictionary. I also had an article expressing concern about invite as a noun, impact as a verb, because only thief can be impacted, and incentivized is described as bearish, bureaucratic misspeak. Now it's not that dictionary editor ignore this kind of attitude about language. They try to provide us some guidance about words that are considered slang or informal or offensive, often through usage label, but they are in something of a bind because they are trying to describe what we do, and they know that we often go to dictionary to get information about how we should use a word well or appropriately. In response, the American Heritage Dictionaries include usage notes. Usage notes tend to occur with words that are troublesome in one way, and one of the ways that can be troublesome is that they are changing meaning. Now, usage notes involve very human decision, and I think, as dictionary users, we are often not as aware of those human decisions as we should be. To show you what I mean, we will look at an example, but before we do, I want to explain what the dictionary editors are trying to deal with in this usage note. Think about the word peruse and how you use the word. I would guess many of you are thinking of scan, reading quickly. Some of you may even have some walking involved before you are perusing the grocery store shelf or something like that. You might be surprised to learn that if you look in most standard dictionary, the first definition will be read carefully or pour over. American Heritage has that the first definition that let them have as the second definition, skin, and next to that, they said usage problem, and that they include a usage note, which is worth looking at. So here is the usage note. Peruse has no mean to read thoroughly, but the word isn't often used more loosely to mean simply to read. Further extension of the word to mean to glance over. Skin has traditionally been considered an error, but our better results suggest that it is becoming somewhat more acceptable. When asked about the sentence, I only had a moment to peruse the manual quickly. 66% of the usage panel found it unacceptable in 1988, 58% in 1999, and 48% in 2011. The usage panel, the trusted body of language authority who is getting more lenient about this. Now, what I hope you are thinking right now is, but who's on the usage panel, and what should I do with their pronouncement? If you look in the front matter of American Heritage Dictionary, you can actually find the name of the people on the usage panel, but who look at the front matter of dictionary? There are about 200 people on the usage panel. They include academicians, journalists, creative writers. There are a Supreme Court justice on it, and a few linguists. As of 2005, the list includes me. Here's what I can do for you. We can give you a sense of the range of opinion about context usage. That is and should be the extent of our authority. We are not a language academy. About once a year, I get a ballot and ask me about whether new use, new pronunciation, new meaning are acceptable. Now hear what I do to fill out the ballot. I listen to what other people are saying and writing. I do not listen to my own like and dislike about the English language. I will be honest with you. I do not like the word impactful, but that is neither here nor there in terms of rather impactful. Is becoming common usage and becoming more acceptable in written prose. So to be responsible, what I do is go look at usage, which often involve going to look at online database, such as Google Books. Well, if you look for impactful in Google Books, here is what you find. Well, it sure looks like impactful is proving useful for a certain number of writers and has become more and more useful over the last 20 years. Now there are going to be changes that all of us don't look like in the language. There are going to be changes where you think, really, does the language have to change the way? What I'm saying is, we should be less quick to decide that the change is terrible. We should be less quick to impose our skill and our allies and dislike about work on other people, and we should be entirely reluctant to think that the English language is in trouble. It's not. It's rich and vibrant and filled with the creativity of the speaker who speak it. In retrospect, we think it's fascinating that the word nice used to mean silly, and that the word decimal used to mean to kill one in every 10. We think that Ben Franklin was being silly to worry about notice as a verb. Well, you know what? We are going to look pretty silly in 100 years for worrying about impact as a verb and invite as a noun. The language is not going to change so fast that we can catch up. Language just doesn't work that way. I hope that what you can do is to find language change not worrisome, but fun and fascinating, just the way dictionary editors do. I hope you can enjoy being part of the creativity that is continually remaking our language and keeping it robust. So how does a word get into a dictionary? It gets in because we use it and we keep using it, and dictionary editors are paying attention to us. If you are thinking, but let all of us decide what word means, I would say, yes, it does, and it always has. Dictionaries are a wonderful guide and resource, but there is no objective dictionary authority out there that is the final arbiter about what word means. If a community of speakers is using a word and know what it means, it's real. The word might be slangy. The word might be informal. The word might be a word that you think is illogical and unnecessary. But the word that we are using, the word is real. Thank